Hi, my name is Jordan Imshow for the Philadelphia Business Leaders Series. My guest today is Tony Romano, CEO of Destination Maternity. Thank you so much for doing this series with us.
My pleasure, Jordan.
All right, you ready to go?
You bet.
All right. Please tell us about your company, Destination Maternity.
So here at Destination Maternity, we're the world's largest designer and retailer of maternity apparel.
Okay.
We have 550 of our own company-owned stores, and we are also in 1,300 lease locations.
Wow.
Where we actually own the inventory and promote it and those sort of things at retailers like Macy's, Bye Bye Baby, Boscov's, some of the Philadelphia places we might know. We also have product in Sears, and we develop the Oh Baby brand for Kohl's.
Okay. That's a wide array.
Yes.
I feel like you're everywhere. How did you get to your present position as CEO? Like, did you always assume or think that you'd be in women's clothing?
Well, that's a great question. As a former football player, I can't say, it wasn't like Stanley Tucci in The Devil Wears Prada, where I dreamt about every night being in women's clothing.
Fabric.
I did always aspire and dream about being a CEO. And what happened is just through, as we'll talk about, I think, a little later, some circumstances that just led me into retail. And I wound up loving retail, and I love the women's aspect of women's retail.
I just feel like there's so many different things that you could do with women. Like, men, it's a wide array, but like women more so. Like, I feel like you can push the boundaries more.
Yeah, well, I think fashion, again, in more recent years, men have become more fashionable as well.
Yeah.
But in general, women always like to push the envelope as it relates to fashion, so it's more fun. To your point, there's a greater range that you can serve.
As the CEO of Destination Maternity, what are some of your major responsibilities? I feel like maternity clothing is so vital to the pregnancy process. Like Kim Kardashian, she doesn't wear maternity clothing, and I feel like she's uncomfortable.
Yes.
I feel it's so vital.
Yeah. Well, the one question is what is my role as CEO? Right. Is there's really three things, right? So the first thing is to build a winning culture, and when I say that, I mean I have to attract and retain the right sort of talent. Here at our organization, and I have to build an environment where people seek to perform their best. And we try to do it where we're respectful and reward performance and do it with a great deal of integrity. So first is building that winning culture, attracting and retaining the right sort of talent. The second is to inspire and lead. And when I think about that, that includes providing all the team members with the right tools and resources to be successful in their roles, to be efficient and effective. And then thirdly is provide vision and strategy. It's my job to think and worry about the future, to anticipate risks and challenges to our business model, while also finding growth opportunities for the future to ensure a consistently good return for our shareholders.
Yeah. You were talking about technology. Do you have a lot of up and coming or great technologies that you use
Well, because we serve the millennial customer, technology is really important. So we are working more and more on how do we work with our websites. We're working on a mobile-first strategy.
Right.
We're finding that the millennial, they grew up in this age, so that the cell phone's like an appendage.
Yeah.
So in that regard, making sure that anything we do digitally works really well and quickly on a phone, because that's how more than 80% of our customers open their emails on the phone.
Right, like your web, how that looks on your mobile phone. Right.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you that later. Do you feel that you are mostly involved in the social media aspect, or is there just a specific team?
Well, there's a team here, as we have for many of our, there's a design team for the clothes, and of course then there's a dedicated group that worries about social media, and we're trying to be all the important places, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks of the world, and that's where she likes to engage with her brand, so we have to be there.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Can you tell us about the three brands? It's a Pea in the Pod, Motherhood Maternity, and Destination Maternity, right?
Correct.
How do you keep them different in terms of brands?
Yeah. So Destination Maternity is really the company name.
Right.
And we also use it as the nameplate over 90 stores where we have both Motherhood and a Pea in the Pod.
Okay.
So really Destination Maternity is the owner of two brands, a Pea in the Pod and Motherhood.
Okay.
So we have some standalone a Pea in the Pods, we have some standalone Motherhoods, and then we have some Destination Maternity stores where both brands represent together.
Okay.
A Pea in the Pod is, if you think about a good, better, best pricing strategy, a Pea in the Pod really seeks to serve the best pricing strategy in the market niche, a little bit more fashion forward and fashion conscious in their choices.
Okay.
Our motherhood tries to serve a blend between the good and the better.
Okay.
In the pricing category. Fashion is still important to them, but it's kind of like affordable fashion.
Right.
Is like how I
Comfort.
think.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that regard. A lot of the ways that H&M and Zara are these days.
Okay,
Yeah, so-
wow, that makes a lot of sense. Is it a challenge for you to keep them separate but equal?
Yeah, so separate but equal is always, a big challenge, right? So the best way for us to keep them separate is really in the merchandising and design teams. So those teams are dedicated to their brands. In that regard, they worry about, am I doing the right thing for my customer in this brand channel?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talk about that as being fanatical about the brand.
Okay.
So in that regard, your people's primary focus is to be good and truthful to that brand.
Okay.
When we talk about equal, in business all the time, there's always the challenge, which one gets more money, where do you open more stores? And it's
Right.
really just about the opportunity.
Yeah.
And each of the brands have tremendous opportunity and serve an important niche. So it's not so much about keeping them equal, just making sure they get their fair resources to be successful.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. What's the best part about your job?
Well, the best part about my job is it's part of the reason I love being in retail. It's really a happy customer who becomes a raving fan.
Right.
It's really
put
fun.
Put it on Instagram, put it on Snapchat.
It's really fun to see somebody, I came in here, I just needed a few things, and I wound up buying $4,000 worth of such.
Good for you.
Jordan was such a great sales associate. So I always love and hearing those exciting stories.
Yeah.
And then related to that, I love seeing the success of our team members. When somebody does a good job and feels really terrific about it, as they should, it just makes me feel really positive that people are contributing.
Yeah, I think it would make me feel good, just making women feel good about their bodies as they're changing. Like that waistband probably makes them feel so great. Like I could still wear these great pants, but you have room for the belly.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I actually consider our greatest competitor to be her mindset.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because originally, or you could also talk to almost any pregnant woman, she'll tell you they all have this badge of honor, how long I could wait before I had to get into maternity, right?
Oh, yeah.
But on the flip side, we hear so many stories about, women, they sat down and they cried in the fitting room because they finally found something that fit and was comfortable and they looked good.
That feels good.
Yeah,
It feels good.
So, Elizabeth, who heads our creative team here, says it really best, and I love it, is when a young lady gets engaged, she gets to buy a wedding dress. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And the mindset we're fighting is when young ladies become pregnant, they say, I have to buy maternity clothes. So we're really trying to seek to change that mindset is, no, you
excited.
get to buy maternity clothes. You get a whole new wardrobe. You should feel and look amazing and enjoy this incredible time in your life.
It's really nice. I think you're really pushing a positive message. But I noticed when you speak about women, you address them as her.
Yes.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's in your mindset, like her. Like I want to help her. That's really cool to me.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your journey? Like, where did you start? How did you end up at Destination Maternity?
Yeah, so I actually started my career as an accountant in the big 8 accounting firms way back when it was Ernst & Winnie.
Okay.
They're now the big 4 at Ernst & Young.
Yes.
And after a period of time, I jumped to one of my clients, which happened to be Charming Shops.
Yes.
Which that's what really introduced me to retail. So I joined Charming Shops in a financial capacity. I was a controller of their non-retail operations, which exposed me to the sourcing and all the operational parts of the business. And, just through a series of actions, I kept growing up in the retail world. And after a period of time, had an opportunity to join Ann Taylor.
You've been everywhere.
A few places.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
that's great.
But my time at Ann, what was really wonderful about being at Ann Taylor was where really I got my passion for the brand and an understanding of how critical it is to be really focused on the customer and providing her consistently with great products.
Right.
So I spent 11 years at Ann doing a whole bunch of jobs. Started really as the director of distribution and transportation.
So you're growing this
all
whole
that.
time, right?
Yes, and then over time adding things like technology. Then I was responsible for the real estate group, and then I ran the loss prevention team. And just through good performance, the reward is more work.
Yeah.
You know, and I was really delighted and happy to have that chance. But anyhow, as often happens in many businesses, I boomeranged back to charming shops.
Oh my goodness, you went all the way back?
I went back to
That's
charming
crazy.
shops, and they were in a slightly turnaround situation, so they were looking for some expert help.
Grow. Right.
And so I bounced back there, and that's where I got my first chance to be CEO.
Really?
Which I don't
Okay.
think would have happened if I had stayed just at charming shops. I do think all the
I
other
agree.
experiences are really important.
Right.
Which is also where I met several of our board members who recruited
That
me to
work here?
join at Destination Maternity. So what I could share with the students and people in the community, that networking is so important. That
yes.
almost all my opportunities have come from good experiences and meeting people and staying connected.
Yeah. Are you on LinkedIn by any chance?
I am on LinkedIn. I have
you
over
think-
500 followers.
Wow.
And our partners, or whatever we call them on LinkedIn these
What are
days.
they called? Continue.
But anyhow, here at Destination Maternity, we have a very active LinkedIn recruiting
You
profile.
post jobs on there?
Yes, I also post a quote every other week.
Okay.
I'm a big quote guy, and I share it with the organization,
Yeah.
and so that I got encouraged. Hey, you really should be posting that to LinkedIn. So.
Yeah.
We're, our millennials are our number one customer now. They're really
Right.
growing, and they're also really an increasing part of the workforce.
Yes.
So how you reach them has to be through social media, much the same way when as you're trying to deal with the customers, attracting them to the brand.
Yeah, I feel like people are on LinkedIn all the time. Like, why not put post jobs on there? Yeah, I see them all the time. That's awesome. And my last question, what advice would you give a student considering a career in fashion retailing?
So I think anyone who is considering fashion retailing has to enjoy change.
Okay.
The one thing I always like to share is if I have a perfect day today and tomorrow I try to do everything exactly the same, not only will it not be perfect, it might actually fail.
I
So I think anybody joining fashion retailing should enjoy change.
Yes.
And if they enjoy change, this is the best place to be. So it is
Right.
so much fun. Every day is dynamic. The world keeps changing, and it's been a really wonderful career for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, like what's cool today might not be cool tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching.